Neil deGrasse Tyson performance tonight at the Bob Carr, and we've got a couple signs with us. Bubbles in space. Hey Neil, where's the pear? And of course the Earth is flat. We're just trying to educate some people tonight. You know, welcome some friendly debates if they want to. People are taking lots of pictures, telling them to hashtag bubbles in space, because this is one of the biggest flubs of NASA is when they film the ISS spacewalks in underwater pools. You can watch video after video of this bubbles in space. And they don't really know how to explain it. Probably called it space debris, but there are air bubbles in space because it's in an underwater pool. Oh, and by the way, the hey Neil, where's the pear has to do with the fact that Neil says that the Earth is pear-shaped. He said in an interview that the Earth is an oblate spheroid, aka it's pear-shaped. But you take a look at any official NASA photo, which are cartoons and computer-generated images, but let's just assume they're real. We get a perfect sphere every time, so we have this sign, hey Neil, where's the pear?
Hey, I'm curious more than anything else. What are you holding up?
What's up? Oh yeah, we're flat Earth truthing tonight.
Okay. What is it, just out of curiosity?
So the Earth is really flat, and the fact that we've been told that we live on a spinning space ball is one of the biggest deceptions of mankind. And because of the age of the internet, different technologies, we are now finding out how badly NASA's lying. For one, there's bubbles in space during the International Space Station.
How do you know that?
Well, if you watch their footage, you can watch the bubbles come out of their helmets. And this has happened 5, 10, 15, 20 times, maybe more. And they don't really have an explanation for it. And that's one of the biggest flubs. But I mean, from using green screens and harnesses to camera tricks, they're screwing up a lot, and we're catching it now. But
slow it down.
So yeah, once you find out that NASA's lying about just about everything they're doing in space, they're really just in low Earth orbit, kind of putting on some Hollywood productions.
Yeah.
Then we.
What's okay? What does that mean? Hey Neil, where's there?
Okay, so Neil deGrasse Tyson's here tonight. As you know.
Right. Yeah.
He said that the Earth is actually an oblate spheroid. It's pear-shaped, but slightly chubbier at the bottom. And he claims it's because due to Earth's spin over time, it's gotten chubbier. Well, I don't know if you've ever seen a picture of the Earth, but they're all a perfect sphere, perfect ball. So it's, hey Neil, where's the pear? It's just kind of a joke.
I got
you know, attention grabbing. I laughed this off for a long time, and eventually, you know, reasonable people that I know were telling me, hey man, I'm like, look, this is ridiculous, but.
How come the atmosphere is
so assuming that
Okay.
camera is basically what people, right?
Explain that.
Right. Okay, so the model, think of it as like a dinner plate.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, if you're at one point on the dinner plate, you can go over here to this side, and you're just going basically around in a circle. It's like going around your neighborhood. You can run around your neighborhood from point A to B to C to D back to your starting point. It doesn't make it a wall.
You're going to go in a circle, aren't you?
Not necessarily.
All right. So if we, and you know, I actually, it's too bad that you guys don't have. He doesn't have like a no. It's just like okay. So we're drawing a. This is just me. I'm curious, but
okay.
That's like a piece.
Okay. All right. Okay. Imagine that. Okay. So everywhere that you're facing, north is in the center. South pole is sir.
Can I take a picture of you?
This center point, if you're over here, north pole is that way. If you're over here, it's going to face that way. So you're just basically traveling around flat center plate.
Right. Okay. But if you were basically, if you were here, and let's say you're trying to take it over there, with a sphere, you basically continue to walk until you finally get there. Right. In this model, I mean, wouldn't you just fall off the planet?
Exactly. So if you go in any direction south, you're going to hit the 360-degree ice wall. Now, I've never been there, but this goes with the theory that there's an ice wall that encircles us, and that keeps us from the water spilling over or falling off the edge. That's just a common myth with the theory that there's
So
an
what
edge.
happens? So this dinner plate is floating into space?
No, it's not moving. Fixed, immovable, flat. Everything in the sky is moving, just as you observe.
Okay.
So the sun goes
what
by.
are they? Are they spheres? Or they
well, that's
ellipses or whatever?
I think the flat circle. Like a circle. Like the sun is a circle.
That's speculation.
What about satellites? Satellites. So you think?
No, not well. You gotta say
I was in the military, and I know
right.
GPS targets really good. Right. So you can tell even point. You got 3 or 4 satellites, and you can triangulate your point to satellites and tell you where you're going. And I tell you, so satellites are real.
So here's the thing: they're not what we think. it's not a metal foil gold-looking box in orbit in space. There's high-altitude balloons. There's drones. There's different technology that they're using. Well, drones are newer, obviously. But back then, I'm saying there was some sort of something that they put up there, whether it's a weather balloon or something like that is taking pictures. Tell me this: if the satellites,
I encourage you to read how actually the space race got started. Not the Army. It's a really good book. It covers a lot of stuff that we took actually from the Yugoslavians, during the Cold War, or actually prior to the Cold War, the rocket technology and stuff like that.
Right.
And I respect your view.
Right.
I respectfully disagree with your view, but I just don't see how you can think that like, for instance, like, you've been up north, like all the way, I don't mind. It's just,
this is just great for the conversation.
Oh,
yeah.
Really big up into it. This has been like resurfaced in the last couple of years.
Has it?
Really heavy, and there's a group.
Okay, so I got family right now in Alaska, right? And when you go to Alaska and you go to the Arctic, you go to places like that, and you go at high elevations, and even if you fly, but if you go at high elevations, you can see the curvature of the planet.
I disagree with you.
Educate me.
So when you go up in an airplane, I've had lots of people tell me this.
Right.
Well, I've flown before. I've seen the curve.
Yeah.
Well, I said, okay, well, I need to check this out again for myself.
Right.
So I've flown many times since then. I can assure you, once you go back up there, there is no curve. The horizon is always perfectly flat and eye level. It's confirmation bias. You grew up and you know in your head it's a fact that the Earth is a ball. Like, you have no reason to question that until right now.
It's not a perfect ball. It's not a perfect sphere.
But it's got.
But I believe that it's actually.
It's like if you get into the car and go to work every day, you know this is pavement. It's pavement. You never think otherwise. But if someone one day tells you, "Hey man, that's not pavement. That's like actually rubber," or something like that, you're gonna be like, "That's ridiculous."
Well, but obviously the prime meridian, latitude, longitude, all that good stuff. As you go up in elevation, right, the actual distance between the lines of latitude and longitude start basically getting a little smaller. So this is but mathematically it makes sense, doesn't it?
It would. I mean, I think I think what they did was they took the flat map and they wrapped it around on a ball and gave us this, and it does work in that sense. But if you created it and you made up the numbers and the shape and everything, then it would work. I will tell you this: there's no observable, measurable curvature anywhere in the Earth, and there's no experiment that can detect the spin. That is, I mean, without NASA photographs and ISS stuff, how can you prove to me, with your own experiment or observation techniques, that the Earth is either curved or that it spins?
The only way I can prove to you, because I've never been in a spaceship, and I've never been at higher altitudes over 40,000 feet, right? So the only way I would think is basically to go on a flight like the YouTube spy plane. That darn thing goes 70,000 feet plus. 70,000 feet, that's double at any airliner.
Right, exactly.
And when they basically take photographs of actual footage, there's a great documentary that the BBC made. A British guy, he's kind of a funny guy. And he went up there, May, his last name is May.
Okay.
And he went up there, they gave him permission to go up there on the YouTube platform. They filmed the whole thing. This is not even the United States, it's a foreign country, the BBC, the British Broadcasting channel. Basically brought to America, they went up on a YouTube spy plane, the US Army, the US Air Force weather, basically enhanced his aircraft, and he went up there, and the curvature was very distinct. That's possible, I can see, but the thing with the fisheye lens,
like the Red Bull jump, that's what they use.
Well,
a lot of
if you go ahead, the fisheye, that's a good point, except for one thing. When you focus on the person, you see the person, but yet around you see the curvature.
Right.
That's hard to do.
So there's images of NASA getting caught using fisheye to show us the curve, where like the panel of the ISS is curved too. So those, throw that in the basket. And the other ones are just computer techniques, Hollywood.
Yeah, but
camera tricks.
But you're going like weird. So do you think that we didn't go to the moon?
No, definitely not.
Okay.
We can't leave low Earth orbit. NASA's actually flubbed and said it like 3 times that humans can't leave. We're trying to leave.
What about ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles? You can't. We have a ceiling that we can't exceed. Is that what you're saying?
I can't prove this. This is speculation.
Sure.
I will say this, but there is, with the theory is a dome, like the Truman Show.
Right.
So there's a ceiling, Operation High Jump and Operation Fishbowl. If you look into those, the military did experiments where they tried to shoot something into the dome, basically break on through to the other side, or whatever you want to call it.
Like the Zongo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's declassified documents that talk about that. I mean, I can't prove that there's a dome, but I don't think that we're leaving. I think that's why they came up with the Van Allen radiation belts. They say, oh, we can't go back to the moon because the belts are radiation, yada yada. Well, it's because there's a ceiling. We can't leave. The Earth is an enclosed system, and all the heavenly bodies rotate perfectly in what's called the firmament. Sometimes.
So what about these guys? So you're saying that all these astronauts in the 60s and 70s up to now.
Have you ever watched the interview when the men got back from the moon? Neil Armstrong did the first trip to the moon, where they walked on the moon. You've got to watch it. They look like they're about to get a life sentence. They're sitting there and they're being forced to lie. And I honestly believe that someone like Neil Armstrong was very, very upset about it. Because before they went, they were all giddy. They're going to do the most incredible thing ever. And when they got back, they were like this.
I understand. I respectfully disagree with your view, but I find it fascinating, interesting. I really do.
Yeah. Well, I hope I don't obviously don't look or sound crazy. You know, I'm not.
No, everyone got their thing.
I don't live in my mom's basement.
Right.
You know what I mean? I've at least got some points to bring up here. I will leave you with one more thing before you go. Is water. The natural physics of water always finds its level. You have a cup of water, you have your swimming pool. Once water has come to its rest, its level, it flows downhill and finds its level.
Depending on the salinity of the water, because you actually go to the ocean, if you have a high salt content versus a low salt content, you actually see that the water not only looks differently, but also basically there's a different density in both water.
Okay, well, I'll give you that.
You know, so you got to be careful of the salinity content.
So
and also, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, so let's just stick with the swimming pool and the cup, the bathtub. Okay. That water is perfectly level, flat.
Yeah, how is it?
Okay, there is no observable or measurable experiment that you can conduct that shows water clinging to the outside of a shape while spinning. You know, if you spun a wet tennis ball, you know what's going to happen. Right. So if we're going to talk about science, which a lot of these people will yell at us, come on, science, man, you guys crazy? Well, if we look
I think their argument is going to be gravity is what holds things together.
That is the argument.
Right.
But in the flat Earth, our mindset, gravity is only a theory. It's not proven. If you drop your phone,
it's going to be an expensive error, number one. Number two, it's going to fall. It's going to fall down because, if you go forward, we're being pulled down.
But why can't my phone just be denser than air? Why do we need gravity? If we have gravity, why doesn't a hot air balloon get pushed down to the ground? It rises because it's less dense than air.
Right.
This is more dense than air.
Right.
We have density, we have buoyancy.
But it's going to fall.
It's going to fall because it's denser than the air.
Correct.
And the helium balloon is going to rise. How come the helium balloon can defy gravity?
It's not. It's basically, I'm assuming it's helium versus oxygen and whatever else we got floated, it's going to be less dense.
Right.
If we stop, like, for instance, the water displacement on a ship, right? We're talking about a 70-ton vessel can literally float on water. Why is that? Because exactly.
Yeah.
So you know what I think should happen?
No gravity.
Well, no, because it's displacing. It's less dense than the water.
I agree.
Right?
I agree with you.
So, and then the water can be actually a regular surface. If we were light enough, there are animals right now that are light enough, and their feet are webbed that they can, like the Jesus lizard. You've seen that in Australia. You can actually literally run on water. Why? Because the way it's designed, the way it's built, and the fact that it goes very quickly on a dense surface with the water. Now, I will tell you this. I find this very fascinating. I'm one of the people that I'm inquisitive by nature. This happens to be my job. And I'm still, even if I wasn't in this job, I would still be asking.
It's cool because a lot of people just have a lot of very rude things to say and they're very closed-minded about it. So this is pretty.
Life is like nobody knows everything. I'll tell you right now. Right. Nobody knows everything. And everybody that does, and they need to check.
To that point, 500 years ago, everybody knew that the Earth was the center of the universe.
Correct. And we know how long that is.
And they thought you were nuts if it was a sphere. And now it's so.
Well, but I think we're too quick to basically jump on any new fad or anything that I believe in the scientific method. I believe that everything should be studied, should be recreated the whole 9 yards. Now, I will tell you what I would.
Can we recreate that wet ball? You can't. Curve.
What do you mean as far as that? Because we don't have the actual mass and the gravity to duplicate it. Like for instance,
but if we can't duplicate it and observe it and test it,
because
then it's not science, it's theory.
We don't have, granted,
what I mean?
It would be theory except for we're living it. At that point, I think it transcends theory and actual fact. That's what I think.
Okay.
Now, if you basically go ahead and if we had a mass that we could duplicate things, like the closest thing we have, I think, that we've been to has been the moon. We know that the moon is smaller, the moon has less gravity, and the gravity of the moon is basically being held together by the Earth itself. That being said, since you're on the moon, everything is less, there's less gravity, so things tend to float. So when you walk, whether it's true or not, I don't know, was it there? Some people believe the whole moon landing was fake. They also believe that the dark side of the moon that Apollo 18 was all a big hoax, and there was that's a missing Apollo mission. There's a whole sorts of theories. I just don't readily believe everything you read or see.
No, and I wouldn't. You have to look into it for yourself.
You have to study.
And that's what we encourage people to do. That's why I tell them things about bubbles in space.
Sure.
Because I have confidence in
What are the bubbles? What are the bubbles?
The bubbles are when air bubbles come out of their space helmets during ISS spacewalks.
So you're saying that the actual walk is really underwater.
It's in an underwater pool.
Right.
That's where they train. It's openly admitted that's where they train.
Well, you
that's
see
also where they film it.
Right. What's the closest thing we can find to?
But why are the bubbles in space if that's real live footage?
Depends on the source.
They call it space debris, but it's clear bubbles. Sometimes like 30 of them come out, and it's clear. You've seen bubbles come out of the pool.
I've never seen that. I need to look for that. Okay.
Yeah, and there's also footage of them going to the moon. And that first shot they sent back of the Earth, the first time we really got far enough away to see, they sent it back. There's been leaked footage now that shows them faking that footage. And they're literally got a curved piece of paper up against the window, and they're curving it on the window so the Earth has a curve. And they show, and the lights come on, and there's like cardboard up there. These are the astronauts.
Yeah, and that's the thing though. You know, we have so much information and so much misinformation. You never know if it's some guy pulling a hoax. Like, you remember those old footage they would have with the UFOs and stuff like that?
Right.
Now, I'm a firm believer that we'd have to be incredibly arrogant as hell to believe that there are hundreds of billions of galaxies, hundreds of billions of stars, and that we're the only in life anywhere. Right. I think we'd be very arrogant to believe that that's the case. A lot of people, a lot of theologists, a lot of theologians, but that's what I'm looking for. I can't even, I'm so tired, I'm going to go home. But a lot of people, a lot of theorists and stuff like that, that's what they argue. It would be very silly to believe that the only things that think, breathe, and can intelligently create things. So, I'm not saying that that's not correct. I believe that there are some people that have, an axe to grind. Clearly, will go ahead and put things out there with just misinformation. Right. On both sides.
I agree.
You know what I mean? So you got to be very careful when you get your information.
Yeah, that's why you've got to really just sift through it yourself.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
How long did it take you to come to the conclusion that,
months.
Okay.
Well, no, I knew almost immediately that NASA was lying once I saw the footage, and I saw that I didn't believe in the spinning ball theory. I think of some ball spinning through space with water not flying off. It's just ridiculous once I dove into it.
Well, but it's gravity though. Everything is,
that theory again.
But it's more than I disagree with it not being proven. You know what I would like to say? Because I don't think I am as clearly not as I would say gifted or as in tune with the science as a scientist would be, like Tyson would be.
He's just
Degrasse Tyson.
Tales in there. Don't worry about that.
Well, I think it would be interesting to see a debate. Would you?
Oh, I'd love to do it. I mean, there's a rapper.
Have you ever sent him like an email saying, "Hey"?
Well, there's a rapper that sort of kind of called him out, and it's kind of was in the public eye for a minute.
Yeah.
He made a song about it. Neil made a little skit about him, but all Neil did.
Yeah, but that's silliness. That's
right. I would like to talk about
a real interesting debate, because I'm sure the man would have some more. I would assume he's got a PhD behind him, so I don't have any of that stuff, so I don't think I'm as well qualified. But I do find it fascinating. First of all, of course, you got to get your sources and all that other good stuff together.
Right.
Get it from, and they have to be credible. You know how it goes.
Right. There's books written on this. There's old books.
I think you should go ahead and petition the United States Air Force. Say, hey, I'd like to take a trip on a YouTube.
Hey, that's another thing about pilots. Is they fly that airplane as if the Earth is not moving. They don't ever have to worry about moving runways. It doesn't spin under them. They don't ever fly as if it's moving or as if it's curved.
Right.
If you're going to fly across country,
well, you know why?
There's a certain amount of curvature.
No, but
they would need to dip down.
But the altitude normally, it just so happens that I actually am a pilot.
Oh.
Okay. Good. Now I don't fly airlines or like that.
Right.
We're talking about Cessna 172 is a very small private aircraft, right? So, and I just recently got one. But you got to remember, we're talking about a small device that's flying, and every time you fly into an airport, you have to set your altimeter slightly, but it's going to be different. Right? Because remember, we're at sea level or below sea level here in Florida. When you go someplace like Maine, the altimeter is going to be set different. And sometimes even the same altimeter will be different here in Florida as well. Right. So just keep that in mind. There's still, I think, absolutely, and that basically that helps you because you can only land. There's a lot more science in it. I'll be honest with you. I think it's the funnest thing on the planet. Every day I'm learning more, and I'm really a little expensive for me, but it's well worth it. And I encourage you to go in and take even if it's a discovery flight, they call it discovery flight, just go to one of these places and go up there. You know, start talking to some of the pilots and stuff like that. And you'll see how it works, and just take a cross country, not necessarily like from one side of the country to another, but cross country means like Orlando to Tampa, something like that. You know, and if you get an aircraft now like a 172, which is you have a very low ceiling compared to other aircraft, like maybe a little small jet or something like that, and look to see for yourself. Right. You know, it's hard to duplicate. Absolutely. Now, if I had the money and the testicular fortitude to go ahead and scrap a rocket and go up and check it out, I would. I'm one of those guys who's very curious.
Well, there's a lot of flat earthers now sending up balloons. The pilot I'm friends with on Facebook, his name's Pilot LX, and he sends shots from the cockpit. He's like, beautiful morning over our flat plane. You know, he's totally on board with it. I think it's one of those things.
Now, how? Because it depends. Like, if you fly at 4,000 feet. 5,000 feet.
We're talking
that's pretty significant.
Yeah, we're talking and I mean these amateur balloons are going 120,000.
Right.
And we're not seeing any supposed curvature. So I mean, don't get me wrong. I had to say the same thing. I said, well, hell, I've been in a plane. I've seen it.
Yeah.
But when I went back, I was like, no, let me really think about this. I'm telling you, flat and eye level. And the only way that works is on a flat level plane because of the way the perspective works. It's going to rise and be at the vanishing point. You know. So that's what you're looking out to see. We're not seeing any curve. And
I would think, I don't know his show. I'm going to probably actually working here for the show. I'm going to pop in there and just kind of check it out. But I would like to see, because I love, maybe I'm a little bit, I don't know, but I like the bass.
He's more of sort of putting on like a performance. He's going to tell jokes. He's trying to be funny and quirky. But he's going to say things like, you know, the universe. He's going to talk about things that are 5 million light years away and things that happened 5 billion years ago.
Right.
What does he know about what's out there and what came that long ago? It's pure theory.
It's
to take note of that.
It's a theory. It is a theory,
but I mean, if you're going to tell me what happened 5 billion light years away, you have no way to verify that.
But they do, in order to basically, it's time to remember the kind of verification with other individuals. You should be able to duplicate your
I'd love to see it. I mean, I've been doing this for like 2.5 years now.
You got tickets to go to the show?
No.
You should go to the show.
I mean,
I'm kind of curious myself.
He thinks the Earth is a pear. I don't really want to hear
Brother, go. No, but you know, in order to have.
But that's what I hope people go and at least check out for themselves. I don't want them to believe me at face value because then they'll be making the same mistake that we did with the government.
Sure.
And with these corporations and whoever's trying to fool us with this deception. But I think the time is now to find out exactly what's going on. Where we actually
what's the old adage? Question everything. Nothing wrong with questioning everything.
There it is.
But don't be surprised when the answer turns out to be exactly what they say it is. Just saying.
As long as there's evidence. I haven't seen too much evidence.